Seems fair, doesn't it? That's the word, fair. Microphone on. Fair.
Just because it's very logical doesn't mean we're going to do it.
Right, it is school public finance. I need a pen. Anybody got next going?
There we go.
You took your buses and divided the number of years by the total mileage to get
How's Tim doing?
Good. Welcome back. We missed you. That was one of the early meetings you've ever seen or not seen.
You did well. I heard nothing but.
No, it was a long one. We got all the
That's not surprising.
We had things to talk.
Burned the mileage out of them at the end right before you paid them in. So put them on a longer out.
Lion's mane
Stuff on them so they.
mushrooms. Somebody gave me one and I ate it, and it was pretty good.
Indigenous, local,
Pure white. Yeah, found it here.
they cap and they kind of.
Oh God, no! They grow on the side of a tree, and it looks like a lion's mane.
Like what kind of color?
Pure white.
I make a list.
Glowing one.
You know, because we got
Just ate it yesterday.
Stringy?
Like this, but stringy. And there's different species in that thing. And I saw.
I gotta remind.
Shaggy Man's today.
Those are
The cap ones?
Yeah.
Okay, it's all on the golf course.
Ink. Yeah. Get them quick. Don't never put them in the refrigerator because within one day you'll have it'll look like you poured a half bag of ink.
They just dissolve into that?
You gotta cut them, eat them.
Do you? And just leaves and stuff.
Is Cindy coming with, oh, there you are, tangible stuff? Well, I don't know, I got it on the computer with the working session and all that.
Oh.
No, I'm good. I just hope my computer continues to handle it. Like right now, I got the working session up.
Did you get yours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I did.
Has it been altered dramatically? Because I can't write on my computer screen. All
It
right,
hasn't been altered.
No, not one's back.
No.
That is a first
I'm good.
in the life.
Anyone?
Happy.
Paper copy of the
Nope.
agenda?
Good.
Be okay.
Are you sure?
Yep. Doug would
Look
go
at
that.
that. I am the only one with a paper copy of it, and that doesn't make me a bad person.
Just
I
makes you
have
a
lots of
Luddite.
papers I can
Just makes you a Luddite.
Good evening. We're going to start the working sessions. Starting time is about 6:05. Just a reminder, check your cell phones, make sure they're on some mode or turned off, and we will start with, I don't think we have any citizen forums this evening that have been filled out. So with that, we will go right into the reports with the board committees. We'll start on the policy committee. Who wants to share something? Just. And if you find my cell phone out there, it's somewhere else. I don't know where it's lost somewhere, but anyway. We'll start with the policy committee. Somebody wants to share that?
Well, I guess we're going to go over the policy 509 during the regular session. What else? Significant things that we did. We're working on the handbook. What do you want to talk about 509?
Sure, we can do that.
Yeah.
It's in the board packets. It's the first reading. It's updating enrollment of non-resident students. And our current policy doesn't cover does not cover our unique situation being on an international border. And some of our non-resident students may be non-residents of the country or the state. So the proposed policy is to address those issues. Also in the policy is a financial sheet for the non-resident tuition fees that the board can consider for this school year. So I guess it's been in the board packet. If you have any questions or concerns about anything.
And to establish residency,
Yes.
there was a list of documents.
Yes,
That would be used.
and that's listed in the policy. What we're planning on doing is sending out a notice to all families because they're finding their data, their contact information isn't updated. We have old cell phone numbers, we have emergency contacts that aren't emergency contacts anymore. So we just send out to all families, just asking them, this is what we have for your information, please correct and send back. And we'll be asking any of the families that just have a post office box in our system to please provide physical address or proof of residence, because it's our district, and it's our duty to make sure that resident tuition paying or state or tax paying residents are attending school, and if we have non-residents, we should be charging tuition.
And non-residents can be from other states as well.
Other states, yep, and the policy covers open enrollment within, so not necessarily residents of the school district, but residents of Minnesota through the open enrollment laws.
It was gonna take me a week to get all the way through this on my computer to the other end, but I remember reading that there was discretion available to you or us as a board to determine if that person was open enrolling properly. There was kind of a gray area, I thought, and there were 3 lines right at the very end of it. And is there a process, for instance, is there a family, you got a kid moving in, you know, he's not here, I mean, the open enrollment question will always centered around athletics more than academics, correct?
Yep.
So there's always a question on that. Who makes that decision then? Does the state have to get involved, or can we make the decision?
I think it's a local decision. Are you talking about the ones that move in and then leave partway?
Yeah, I mean, any of them. It just seemed like there were, and once again, I could get to the end of it, so I don't mean to be so vague about it, but there were 3 procedures that took place, you know, that allowed them to come into our school district, but it seemed odd that we would be the ones making that decision. So for instance, let's just say, and I'm going to get myself in trouble when I say it, but let's say Warwick, for instance, wanted to bring a hockey player in from some outlying community, just that, you know, it's hypothetical, let's say, and the school board could actually just approve that, say, oh yeah, you know, so-and-so's coming from wherever, you know, he's going to play.
Seems to me there are state guidelines.
There's state guidelines as far as establishing residency is the big thing, and there's certain.
And then there would also, the Minnesota State High School League, I think, would have something to say about athletic eligibility, as I recall.
But there's language in here that talks about.
Yeah, I'm going to get it up because, like I say, I'm not doing a good job of describing it. It'll take me a bit, so you can come back to it later.
Anyone know where it's at?
It was right at the tail end of the policy. As a matter of fact, if you got it sitting right there.
Yeah.
It's more, anyone know where the policy is?
At the end of the packet.
End of the packet, okay. Okay, yep.
Where is this? I'll keep going. Yeah. Oh, no, that's tuition agreements. Procedures for barring attendance. Oh, reasonably believes that the student is not a resident, the district is not properly enrolled. So we have the decision. It says right here, the administration, I'll read it so everybody knows what I'm saying. If an administrator in the district reasonably believes that a student is not a resident of the district and is not properly enrolled through the district's open enrollment policy, or one of the exceptions stated in the policy, the administrator shall refer the matter to the superintendent. So, I mean, is that the chain of command that occurs where Tim Lyon says, I don't think that kid has the right to be here, and you say, all right, I'll make that decision?
Yeah, but further on it talks about how you go about that and asking for proof of residency. It's not so much where the kid is, where the student is living, it's where their parents are living. And there's language in here that addresses, it gets into a kind of a fuzzy gray area if they are living within the district just to attend school and the parents are living outside.
Yeah, there's even a thing about grandparents and
Yeah.
such without guardian.
And once again, your shoulders, I mean, you have to make that final decision about that?
Supported by the school board, yes.
Okay.
I don't,
The determination, there's legal guidelines that,
I don't think,
We have to
at least the way I read it, and definitely correct me if you don't if you don't think it's correct, the way I read it was, it's the superintendent's duty to investigate and see if it meets the guidelines, and if it doesn't, it's not like he's got the discretion, or even the school board has the discretion to ignore it. It's just, he's the investigator to see if it follows the guidelines. I guess that's kind of the way I interpreted it, that.
And it would take board action to unenroll the student or to set a tuition agreement with the family. And that would come to the board.
All right, and then one more question. You said you had 2 instances that sort of fell under this.
I'm not 100% sure. I know I think we have 4 PO boxes in our system. We have 4 kids that are registered just with PO box. They will be sending out letters to get asked for more information.
Those people haven't been contacted yet?
Not yet. I want to make sure we have our policy in place and procedures in place. Like I said, we're sending stuff out to all families to get the information. So I'm hoping this first letter will get that squared away, and we won't have to send a specific letter asking for proof of residency.
Okay.
So it's just beginning the process, but I think we need to have this in place and approved prior to starting down that road.
And the tuition rates that were generated, you had a formula.
Yep. And that comes right off of our what-if statements on MBE, and that's based on our formula allowance for gen ed students, and I kind of broke it down off of that sheet. And I included about 98%. There's a few other smaller line items that I didn't include on the tuition. So you can kind of see the bulk of it is our students would get $8,000 to $10,000 per kid, and that's generated by primarily property taxes from the state. So.
Okay, it's exciting that people want to be here, right? They want to figure out a way around it to be in Lake of the Woods School. It's a compliment.
Yes. And I have to come up with a scholarship program for them. Some of them can afford it, but I mean, so.
Any other additions on, moving on to that update on staff handbook? Did we kind of cover that, or is there anything else we need to?
Did you want to go over the PEP book?
Pardon?
Stuff?
This is really in rough draft form, and we handed it out to the staff with that in mind. There's some things in there that are outdated, and we know that. But there's quite a bit of stuff in there. We're just asking if people see things or things catch your eye, let us know so we can get it cleaned up, and in the next month or two have updated employee handbook.
All right. Moving on, pep band mandatory requirements.
Want me to go?
Want me to go, or
I'll go.
Go ahead.
Okay, so pep band, and Tangy's here, so I presumably about that. Currently, the pep band is part of the band class, and it represents 20% of a student's grades. They can be excused for a number of things, and I don't know if non-school related activities is or is not a part of it. For instance, youth hockey is not a school activity, so there would be no exception to that. So pep band is in the evenings, roughly 7 o'clock, and 20% of the grade, and I guess, I don't know, I kind of have, it is classroom, and I myself have kind of an issue with, okay, so we're having classroom outside regular class hours, and regular class hours being till 3 o'clock. And there's a number of ways we can go about this. So somebody in dance or something else has to choose between going to dance or risking losing credit for a grade credit. Between the start of school and October 17th, there were 7 pep bands, required pep bands, and then there can be additional ones after that. Same thing will occur presumably each semester. So I brought it up to the policy committee. It's like, well, we can do it. The question is, should we do it? Or should we make the distinction between the 9th graders and the 10th through 12th graders? Because even though it is an elective, it's still, the fine arts is required. Lots of the kids start coming up in band, go all the way through, and automatically continue in band in 9th grade. So technically, it is an elective. Those 9th graders then fall under those requirements where, okay, if they're doing something else or if they're in youth hockey, they either need permission to be excused, and I don't know if that's still the case, it previously wasn't, or they would have to miss pep band. So, I don't know, what do you do? I guess that's what we're here for, is to figure out something to do with it. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
I didn't say it very well,
No,
I
I
can tell you that.
understand. What prompted the discussion? Is there,
Well, it came up again just because, obviously, I now have a 9th grader. I didn't realize it was still in place when my oldest was in 9th grade 4 years ago. It changed from voluntary to mandatory, and he ran into trouble with youth hockey because you're either going to get benched by your coach because now you missed practice, or you get docked on your grade. So some discussion came up then, and then now again, it's seeing it again. I didn't realize that we were still doing it. So now the issue comes up again, and it's like, well, should we do this or not? It's not a youth hockey issue. It's not anything issue. It's just, is it right to require kids to attend class, because that's what it really is, after regular school hours? I know other schools do it, and apparently some even have more of a letter grade associated with it. I just question, it's like, okay, we can do it, should we do it? Another option is, because up through 9th grade, fine arts is a requirement. They can take band, choir, some art classes. I think you said there was a woodworking. There's other options, but band is one of the main ones. So beyond 9th grade, kids no longer have to take band. So I guess the way is a potential compromise is give the 9th graders a little bit more leeway. 10th graders through 12th, they obviously are signed up for band, and at least in my mind, I have less of an issue with forcing the kids to attend school after hours.
You're saying that the sophomores, juniors, and seniors would be exempt because it's a school activity that they're going to be involved with high school hockey, or why just the 9th graders?
I'd be willing to go, this was more of a compromise type idea, because the 9th graders, it's still a requirement. You have to take a fine arts. So if they've been in band all the way up through, do they have to take band? No. But if they've been playing an instrument all the way through, it's a quasi-required course. They don't have to take band, but if that's the elective that they've gone through. Beyond 9th grade, the kids have satisfied their fine arts requirements by then. So if you continue on, you are continuing on because you want to take band, not to fulfill a fine arts requirement. So that's why I make the distinction. And also the Minnesota State High School League, for large group performances and other things, makes a very distinction between 9th graders and 10th through 12th graders. So that's also why that comes in. So, and this is, again, I'm looking at it as more of a part of a compromise that, okay, maybe you only require 3 pep band sessions or something like that for 9th graders. If they want to attend more, they sure could attend more. But it would give more flexibility, or increase activities that would be exempt. Because an example that came up was a kid in JV hockey, kid in bantam hockey in the same grade. The kid in JV hockey would be exempt under the current guidelines. The kid in youth hockey would be either have to miss practice or would be docked on their grade. And again, if I'm saying anything wrong, definitely correct me.
In in the spirit of compromise, would it be an excused absence if they missed hockey to go to band? Could that be something we could address?
I'm not following. You'd have to get the youth hockey to agree to that.
Pardon?
You'd have to get the youth hockey to agree to that, and
Okay.
it's possible, but again, part of it is making it mandatory after regular school hours is kind of part of the thing too, at least in my mind. I don't know how everyone else
Like a
feels about it.
parental discretion where, and just, don't call it hockey, anything, where a
Yes.
parent says,
Yep.
can't make it because they've got confirmation class, they've got hockey, they've got, pick any number of variables.
Yep.
You know, Liz, that it's hard to keep that number up there, isn't it, in the pep band?
Yes.
And that's a battle. Don't need to have any more excuses for kids not being there.
Yep. But the argument for that is, okay, lifetime sports or whatever is an elective. Football team's short, we don't have enough kids. We're going to require the kids that are in lifetime to sports to play football. It would only be what? They could practice during the school day, and then they would only have to be required to do the football games, and there's, what, 10 a year, 11, something like that? So, again, I get the whole thing, you're trying to get the numbers, but making it mandatory isn't, in my mind, the right way to go about it.
Is it pep band practice or is it pep band?
Pep band.
At game?
It's the
Yep,
actual
at the
at
games.
the game.
Okay.
And I liken it to when I was over in Iraq, courtesy of the Navy. Our commanding officer decided that this group, we were having too much fun all on our own, so he wanted to have the cookouts at the main compound where the officers were, and so, but nobody would go because it wasn't any fun. Well, he took care of that, and he made it mandatory. So then each company had to show up at their allotted time for long enough, 20 minutes, for what became known as mandatory fun. Like they made it mandatory when not enough people were showing up. And in my mind, this is mandatory fun. So,
Okay.
I don't know, depends on what everyone else thinks too, so.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions for Board? Liz? You're up.
The rebuttal.
Well, I guess, what would you like me to address?
If you've got something you want to say, I've got a couple questions, I guess.
I'll take a question.
When we talk about, are there, if a band member says, or a parent calls or tells you they've got they have an excuse, is there an excusable? Is there a difference between excused and a time that it's going to affect their grade?
Yes.
Okay.
Typically, what I've done for excused absences are when they're in the varsity sport that we're playing at, they're excused because they're warming up on the court or field or rink or whatever. If kids were sick during the school day, they're excused.
Can you come up, please? Thank you.
I have my pep band stuff here, so. Can you hear me better now?
Thank you.
Okay, sure. Excused absences in the past have been if you're playing in the varsity sport that we're performing at, if you are ill during the school day. If kids tell me ahead of time that they are, let's say they're taking a family trip to the cities and they're gone, that's been excused because they're not even in town. When you mentioned youth hockey, what I've done in the past for kids that have been in youth hockey and in band is if it's a tournament, like you go to Grand Forks or the Falls or wherever, that's excused, but practices are not. And the only reason is because it's not a school activity. And you brought up dance as well. I have a daughter in dance as well. She's not in senior high yet, but she will be soon. But practices would be not excused. Performances would be excused. there's been other, and things come up that are always just as the situation happens. And I had a freshman that lived up by Rocky Point, and their mom was going through medical stuff, and they didn't have a ride. I excused that absence. I recently had some parents that were out of the country, and a student didn't have a ride, and so I excused that. But the idea of, if I do not require freshmen to be there, this year I have 9 freshmen out of 30 band kids, so that's a third of the group. And I don't think, we would not sound very good missing a third. Like typically in the winter, like I'll ask kids, like who's going to make it, who's not going to be there. And if I'm missing too many kids, I cancel it because I don't want to misrepresent the school. Like these are performances. We probably have more people that hear us at games than we do at our concerts. And so there's time, I want to put our best product out there. And because it's a co-curricular activity, there are activities that are outside the school day. Band has 3 concerts, choir has 3 concerts. There's opportunities for contests through high school league events that they have to be academically eligible for. So we make sure kids are passing their classes before we do those things too. Just music, and choir is included in this. Band and choir always have activities that are outside of the school day. And I say that it's required for pep band because I need to have the group that I know, all those kids, as many as possible, performing. It's not like I can just, oh, my tuba player's gone. You're going to play tuba tonight. Go out there, have at it. It's very, specific for each instrument. I don't know if I've answered all the questions yet. As regards to like the 9th and 10th through 12th thing, there are schools in our area that their high school band is 7 through 12. And so those directors, the ones that have gotten back to me, they require 7 through 12 to be there. I've actually found that sometimes the younger kids have an easier time of getting there because there's older kids that are working. And there are directors in our area that say work is not an excused absence, where in the past I have, as long as I know about it, I have excused absences for work. So I feel like I've been lenient with many things that some directors aren't. I don't know if they have issues with it in their districts or not, but it's really just to make sure we have a good product at the pep band events that are scheduled.
Is in the past, have there been students that have missed that their grades have been adjusted because of it?
Adjusted up or adjusted
down?
What do you mean down?
They've lost.
Oh, I've had students that never attended any pep bands, and their grade shows it. They don't fail the class, but their grade is docked. Yeah.
You've got some that just are not going to.
I've had kids sitting in the bleachers and not playing pep band, and then their grade would get docked also.
I have a question about, is this recognized like when they join band, that's part of the class, right? They know that?
They should know that by day 1, I would assume. If they're new to the area, maybe it's something I need to explain in more detail too, but we've set it up. It's part of the school environment. It's
right.
The expectation, like senior high, that's part of my
curriculum.
It's even part of my when I'm recruiting elementary kids to join band. It's like you see the pep band at the pep fests or at football games or whatever, and like, hey, I want to be part of that. Or when we travel to postseason things, the kids usually enjoy that quite a bit. So.
Where do we fall as far as other surrounding schools as far as this requirement? Or some
it varies quite a bit. Like number of pep band performances, or
the requirement to attend.
It's required across the board.
Okay.
I heard back from the former Rosa director. They have someone new there now. I heard back from the Hallock director, Badger director. So, and those are schools. Some are bigger than us. Some are smaller than us. Rosa, they had 80 kids in their senior high band. So they have the flexibility where they could say, who's going to be there? Okay, great, show up, we'll see ya. With 30 kids in band, we don't have the flexibility, especially when you have 5 varsity starters or 4 varsity starters, or if cross country's gone the same day we're playing for a volleyball game, it starts cutting at the kids real fast. And I have kids that have church stuff that's on Thursdays instead of Wednesdays, and so those Thursday kids, because it's church, I excuse that. So then I'm missing, it's really a balancing act. Winter's harder because there's girls basketball, boys hockey, and then there was girls hockey at one time too. So there was, usually I say if there's 2 or more sports in a night, we're not playing anywhere because it spreads the kids too thin. So some places, the Rosa director told me that they count pep band as just a performance grade, and so half of their grade is the concerts and contests and pep bands all roped into the same thing. So I don't grade concerts the same as pep band because I don't think pep band has as much value as as much worth as a concert, because that's really what we're working for in our, in our classwork in the school activities. So I don't know. I probably floated around a lot of things, but.
Other questions?
Are parents made aware? So you said kids should know or do know, but do parents know when their kids are signing up that they're going to, because ultimately they're the ones responsible?
On the first day of school, we have our concert schedule set, and I have the pep band schedule set for the fall. So I have it set from the beginning of school until end of October, mid-November. It depends when there's tournaments. And I should say too, like tournaments, typically I don't require, tournaments are a little bit harder because it's not always scheduled, or it's not, like I can't assume that we're going to make it to the final section game of every sport we're in. But, I let them know that these are games that you could be asked to play at. So typically I don't grade postseason stuff just because that's a little, if we have to go to Bagley one night and Crookston another night and it's in the same week, that's a lot to ask sometimes. But the kids like to do it too, so.
In your experience, if you made it voluntary, how many kids would show up?
I don't know. I don't know.
They're 15. 15-year-old kids. Well, so you got, Boyd's offered a compromise, which is, let's say, 3 instead of 5 in a month, or whatever numbers you threw out there, 3 instead of 7, which seems to me we haven't really addressed the question that you're asking, which is, can we demand that a kid shows up at 7 o'clock at night? Which seems to be the kernel of your question, right?
Well, it is. That's already been answered. You can do that. As you may recall, I said, should we do it as part of that? Now, I know all the other school districts are doing it too. I guess as compromise, I'd be looking at more include non-school recognized activities, youth hockey, dance, because it was brought up, kid, same class, 2 kids, same class, one's on JV hockey, one's in youth hockey. The JV one gets excused, the youth hockey has to choose.
Well, if I have to excuse everything that's going on in town, like I'm going to excuse kids to go to a Boy Scout meeting, I'm going to excuse, we won't have kids to do pep band. And I've kind of gotten, it's my understanding that I'm expected to provide pep band at a reasonable number of games. So if I'm going to excuse everything that's happening in town, there's a blood drive. You could make a really long list of things that happen in our community.
I guess I was looking at more activities that are already scheduled, not one-time things like blood drives or anything like that, or maybe Boy Scouts would be if they can't change the meeting date. If that's a typical meeting date for Boy Scouts, okay, so Boy Scouts isn't as important as pep band.
Well, I'm not saying anything is more or less important. I'm just saying that the pep band is a branch of the senior high band class, and that because it's a co-curricular activity, I'm not sure what, I lost my train of thought now, but it's part of the expectations of the class, I guess.
Yep. And you know what? For the most part, I'm just talking about 9th grade. You go beyond 9th grade, they obviously really want to be in band and continue on. It's no longer one of the fine arts requirements or anything else, and I would have no objection to that. It's more the 9th graders that are still continuing in their fine arts requirements that may or may not want to be there, to be a little bit more flexible. And am I wrong about how the State High School League does differentiate between 9th grade and 10th grade?
They do, but it's for, I think the reason I've understood it as for the high school league is for the bigger city schools that have like 7th through 9th grade is more middle school, and 10th through 12 is high school. There are things in there, but then it also says that if you are including, like for large group contest, we always go to large group contest. I do require that because it's the entire band that needs to be there unless they're failing a class. But if they are included in the course, if they are in the senior high band, then they are allowed to participate in contest.
They're allowed to, yeah.
Yes.
Not required to, but they're allowed to.
Well, no one's required to do solos or ensembles. I haven't gone that far yet, but that's part of, I don't know, I see that as different than pep band. I see that as something that you want to make yourself a better performer, and you want to do something that's above and beyond. So, where pep band is part of what we do. Maybe I'm putting too much emphasis on pep band. I mean, if the school's like, well, band can be there, we'll just plug in a CD, like, we can have that discussion later on, but it seems like schools want live music, and that's...
I like the pep band there. It brings energy, it brings music, obviously. I think that compromising down to 3 is going to kill you mathematically anyway. I mean, you already pointed that out. Whether it's 3 or 5 or 7 a month or whatever your number is, I just don't see that working. Like you said, you're already juggling enough that I think that you're going to struggle to make that.
And if I make a schedule and I require fewer pep bands, then those would have more, like, you have to be at those. You can't say work as an excuse. Like if I do fewer of them, there's going to be less things that become excused. Does that make sense? Because those are more important then. Like those are our only performances. You got to be there.
What about just adding more excused activities? Again, it doesn't have to be every activity,
Well,
I'm just thinking about, again,
I don't know if it's
hockey
fair
and
for me to
others.
pick and choose which activities would be excused and which would not.
Oh, you kind of are, but...
I think on the other end of the spectrum...
Besides work and religion, what am I not including in my...
But as a youth hockey coach, I would look at it academically too. I mean, I think last year, Darren and I had that discussion on many occasions because we got kids who were struggling academically already at the age of 12 and 13, but giving them the option of, not even giving the option, saying, you're not up to snuff on a homework, you're not up to snuff on a grade, don't come to practice. Go home, do your work, and let us know when you got it up. Because I think there's the motivation as much as to, and I look at that as an academic. I mean, you say, fine arts, or you say fun in the pep band, or whatever, adjective you want to throw, it's still part of their school curriculum, and that would be something that we would look at, say, get your band thing done, or get your mathematical thing done, or whatever it is, because that comes first. That comes before hockey, and I think that that's the priority that we would have thrown at it as a pair of coaches. Now, that's probably where you're going to have to go with it. If you get a coach who's really a dink about it and says, no, that band doesn't mean you can miss practice, I think I'd look at it the other way.
I think that has been what I've come across, because I'm not going to go, I don't even know who all the coaches are. There's a lot of coaches in the youth hockey program, and I don't know if it's my job to go to them and say, can you go please excuse this student because they have pep band? Like, that's the student's responsibility to communicate with the coach. And this is all, like, I didn't even really bring this up. Like, it's about communicating with me, like the kid that said that my parents aren't here and I don't have a ride. They let me know ahead of time. If they hadn't let me know and just blown it off, I guess, in a way, then I would have marked them to 0 because I didn't know where they were. I didn't know why they didn't show up. It's really just come and talk to me. I mean, there's been directors I've known where their kid is, a breadwinner for their family and can't make it to every pep band. They made a compromise. They said, well, come to these, don't come to these. And, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule. But the rules I have, I want to stick to, because then, like, people just, they'll have lots of reasons to not be there. So, I don't know.
Other questions? I think what we should do is probably, with all open sessions, we're not going to make a decision tonight. Let's get a couple of us together and try to, we've had some good discussion on some things here, on things, and let's let somebody, the involved people, in the spirit of compromising, I think there is some wiggle room here someplace where that both sides can come somewhere here. I would go on there. I would come in and meet with somebody. Liz, no doubt you want to be involved with this.
Yeah, if I'm available, yes.
I'd be interested in seeing where the abrasive points are over the next several months. Like see what happens over a winter sports schedule, for instance, or a fall sports schedule, or whatever, and just see where the conflicts occur, and then talk about, maybe the compromise, as opposed to, I hate to sound retroactive as opposed to proactive, but it just seems like I'm not sure where you've pointed out the hockey, but it seems to me a discussion at the hockey arena would quickly alleviate that problem. I think, you say you don't know the coaches, I know the coaches. Go to them, and I don't have to convince them anything, I can just ask them, what's your opinion on this, and I get whatever,
There's a hockey board, right?
Yeah,
So,
and they say, no, I can't, and then that's the person, that's what we need to address the compromise, as opposed to.
And then, the one disadvantage, like I'll use volleyball for example, because it just already happened this year. Like, one game, JV got done early, we were done playing by 7:10, when normally we would play until 7:30. The last game that we played at, JV went long, the C squad went long, we were supposed to be out of there by 7, we weren't done playing until 7:30. So there's some things that are out of my control too when it comes to performing, for pep band. So, a kid can tell their coach, like, yeah, we're supposed to play from here to here, but hopefully the coaches know that I don't know when we're going to play. We're just showing up at the time that we suspect and go with the flow with when we actually perform. So,
I think you said it pretty well. When those kids communicate with you, it goes a long ways. And I think that the communication in this thing, but like Tim says, let's find out where those things are. A little communication might look around here and alleviate some of these, and hopefully come up with a workable solution. The pep band is pretty cool to have at those games. There's no doubt.
Is there a way we collect data so we know how often it's an issue with, we
And that's just.
don't have any hard data, how many times?
All I have is I have last winter's pep band schedule. I don't know if I have last fall's pep band schedule still on my computer, but that's all. I just keep.
And you would have numbers of kids that didn't make it, that were unexcused.
Not from last year anymore, but this year I would. Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe that's the first step is how often is there a conflict and where is it occurring? Is it hockey? Is it dance?
Or wherever, yep.
Is that asking too much to?
No, I'll just keep my attendance sheets. I keep them for the school year anyway. So.
The ones that you excuse or unexcused and.
And I do put in the grade book, like, if it's unexcused. Well, if it's unexcused, I don't put anything because I don't know why they weren't there. But, if they were ill, I'll write ill, or I'll write, family trip, or whatever. So that way people can look and see what the grades are about. So.
Yeah, and why they're missing, and if it's unexcused, what's the conflict?
And Boyd, you did mention the 20%, and I'm trying to make the grade book work so it's accurate and shows, a accurate portrayal of what the kids earn. Sometimes it's been 10, sometimes it's been 15, sometimes it's been 20, and I found that just 20 kind of works with what else is graded on. Half the grade is, well, it's all on the website too, but half the grade is what they do in class.
So then 30% would be their concerts or those kinds of things.
Yeah, concerts. I haven't figured out how to put a concert grade in without completely screwing up my grade book yet. Okay. Kathy says she has a good way of doing it, but I haven't figured it out yet. So the concert, if they miss a concert, their grade for the quarter drops 2-letter grades. For wherever they're at, if they're at A or B, it drops to a C or a D. There's a makeup assignment for concerts because sometimes you're on a trip to Florida, or you had mono for 2 weeks or something. So concerts, there's a makeup assignment because I have something they can do that relates to the concert.
Right, they can practice more.
Yeah, I've been asked about a pep band makeup work, and for one, I don't know how you can make up, like you can't, I suppose you could come in and play some pep band tunes for me, but it's not the whole ensemble piece. So I don't know. I don't have a ton of extra time in my schedule for kids just to come in and do makeup work.
You could do it at the board meeting, just sit in the back row up there with Brian. Do it every once in a while.
No one would miss anything then.
Am I allowed to ask, why did this come up? Why did this situation come up?
You can blame it on me.
Oh.
I did it.
Okay, well.
And I was going to say.
Once a month, people that are coming to you and saying this, or?
I was just gonna say, and since it sounds like we're wrapping up, Liz, you're a great band teacher. I enjoy the concerts. I like listening how you go through elementary and it's kind of painful and then it continues up and then you hear the senior band and they do a great job. It's more, and it sounds like everybody does it, where they have the requirements. I mean, if it was, doesn't matter that it's pep band or if it was the math club requiring the kids to be there afterwards. My hang up is that after, how can we require kids to go to school, which is basically because of the classroom requirement, after hours? And so call it more of a principal type thing. And yeah, a few years back it did come up that my kid fell into that youth hockey category, and that was a bunch of hoop jumping. It really doesn't affect me now. And quite honestly, I didn't even know we were going to have this discussion tonight, but until I saw the board agenda, and that's more what it's about. It's nothing personal. It's nothing. I'd be questioning any class that had a required club after school hours or performance or anything like that. So.
But concerts are still okay? I mean, like,
when concerts are, what,
three times a year.
3 times a year?
Yeah.
Okay, 3 times a year, piece of cake. Okay. I'm not even going to argue that. 7 performances between the beginning of school and October 17th, that's roughly 1 a week, and then potentially continuing on. In my mind, that's a little excessive, but if nobody else thinks it's excessive, then...
Well, I'm glad you said that, because there's some schools that their administration pushes them to do every single pep band possible, and it destroys the kids, and it destroys the director, and it's a lot of stress, so I mean... And
really, in my mind, we're just talking about the 9th graders, because you get beyond 9th grade, you no longer have the fine arts requirement, and if the kids are continuing in band, obviously they want to continue in band, and I have zero argument with having them attend every single one of them or more, because, like, as you say, it is part of band. It's that kind of the 9th grader that, okay, yeah, they continued in band, it is an elective, and it can be a requirement for that, but that's kind of the sticking point, at least in my mind. So that's all it is, nothing personal at all, and I think it's gone a little bit farther than I had even intended, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Well,
Go ahead, Lynn.
I just think that as long as it's known, you know, like with the class, that that's part of the expectation of the class, I think that's an important piece. That was why I asked that question. Because if you are a 9th grade band, if you know that that's, you know, and I'm assuming if you play an instrument in 7th and 8th, you kind of know that too, that that's going to be a future expectation. Then,
if we're going to base it off that, then I recommend when they sign up for band, because they do class sign-ups in the fall, in the spring, right, for the following, send a letter out to any parents to let them know. I mean, telling them the first day of class, well, now it's already too late to make any changes or do anything alternative. Make it very 100% clear so the parents all know that in the fall, this is going to be the expectation. If you don't want to do it, don't put your kid in band. Then take care of the issue too.
Yeah. Well, now with, like, I changed our website from a Google site to a different site, so it's easier for parents to see everything. But now I hear Google's changed back to a cool way. So anyway, so it's out there for anyone to look at any time.
You had said that,
and then
it was out there.
Yeah, and then you said, about knowing about it ahead of time. The last couple of years, I've made it part of, like, the end of the school year, like junior high, like we pull out the pep band folders and suffer through junior high kids trying to play pep band songs, and I let them know, like, you know, especially the 8th graders, like, if you're in band next year, you'll have to learn this whole book kind of thing, and so I've been trying to kind of.
Well, and I think that's all part of the communication, which is important.
Yep, absolutely.
You know.
How do we go forward? Do we need to, Jeff, any suggestions?
Well, I think having some conversations informally and collecting some data to see where the issues are. I don't know, we want to revisit it probably at the policy committee level maybe at some point, or are we looking in December, January, look at how often is it coming up, and the issues? Does it need to be changed, or
Go through the season. I mean, there's no I don't see any rush to change everything drastically. It's more, okay, this is,
That's good.
yeah, so.
We've had some good discussion.
So make my winter prep band schedule as I normally would when November hits? Okay.
We'll talk.
All
If I
right.
see you in the hall, we'll
Okay,
talk.
just make sure I'm not walking fast. I might be going from room to room, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if I can keep up. So,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Well, thanks for letting me talk.
You bet.
I'd just like to make one more comment. It seems like kids can get to sports events and things like that with no problem. And I think pep band in my eyes, when I was a kid, it was almost like being in a sport. It was part of your responsibility as that student in school. And I think maybe that's what we should project a little bit more, is that, you know, you're part of pep band, you're part of the school morale, you're part of the team.
And I agree, and I think that's why it should be made 100% clear, the commitment, because any kid signing up for a sports team or anything like that, it's intuitively obvious to the most casual observer that they're going to be playing football, volleyball, anything like that. So, great, let's do the exact same thing with band, and so that the parents know without a doubt, and if they can't say, I didn't know about it, or just putting the onus on them to look at the website isn't really fair. I mean, we're talking about probably 30-some kids. I'm sure a letter is not insurmountable. So I guess that's what I was going for.
Very good. Moving on, School Forest Committee, got an update. Corinne, if you want to share a couple of things, I can do a couple, but no doubt you probably kept better notes than I did.
I didn't bring them. We are going to meet on October 1st to talk about finances and just take a look at the ins and outs. And other than that, we just...
Yeah, that was kind of our main topic. We were talking about getting the books in order a little bit on finances, and I think we had a pretty good discussion on how to go forward with that. On another note, we had a phonology club, first one, beautiful day. I don't think we're going to have it quite so nice tomorrow, but I know the people that have spent some time out there have just been admiring all the native plants that have just. We've had a great year for native plants, the blue stem, a lot of wild sunflowers out there. It's pretty amazing how that place looks right now. Talking around the pond in that area for sure. It's been just really remarkable. I mean, you drive by, you see that tinge of blues and purples out there right now, and that's that giant blue stem out there. And it's we're going to collect some seed tomorrow with our class, and might get a little patch like we've talked about, going in an area that doesn't have any, and some wildflowers and things. We're going to work on that tomorrow, but it's about as beautiful as it can be right now.
I have a question on something. There's all kinds of evergreens, you know, straight out here along the road. Could we ever move some of them over here to the playground? I always thought we should have trees. I mean, there you get free trees, and we could have some bunch of free bodies, I'm sure, helping you move them, somebody dig them down.
Trees usually aren't a problem to get free. We can, I mean, there's plenty of those around, but.
I've been here 20-some years. I've asked for trees for playground every year, and we've never gotten trees. And the wind blows there quite a bit. There was trees planted, and they were mowed down.
Twice.
Imagine
It wasn't from the lack of, he's not feeling.
But evergreens are something that would grow fast. I mean, just to get some shelter. And I just noticed there's lots of them. I think we own that land.
Is that Buildings and Ground Committee?
We got, trees aren't an issue. We can get trees.
It's the maintenance and the, keeping them alive, that's the issue.
Yeah, but, else on the school forest committee? Now we'll go to finance committee.
We did talk about our budget report or financial report's got a couple of glitches in it, so we're not giving it to the full board yet tonight. There was a couple items, but we're working on that. Crystal's working on it, so. The auditors are here.
So far, so good.
Find out what's going on.
Anything else, other questions? Not, let's move over to Mr. Nelson for both the superintendent and elementary principal.
Okay. Strategic plan with MSBA sent out information, it's in your packet as well. I'm recommending that we move forward with the MSBA strategic planning service that they provide. It's roughly
$4,300, I think it was.
$4,300. But I think they walk us through everything and it aligns with state requirements, and they take care of collecting stakeholder data, and they're coming from the outside. So I think it's in our best interest if we're going to spend money and time on strategic planning, that we have someone that
And $4,300, it was a they come up here 4 times.
Yep.
At their own expense, which I appreciate.
Yep, that's in the fees.
Is there a logic to waiting after the first of the year?
Well, if the board gives me indication that, yeah, we should move forward with this, then I'll contact them and get the details as far as when's the best time to start the process.
But with new board members coming
New
on?
board members, or started right before the election and continue it on afterwards. There's value in getting information from current board as well as new board. So if we think that's something we want to get the ball rolling, that's what I will.
I mean, like right now, you're waiting for a hand raise. I mean, I'd say yes. I think we've talked about this long enough, and I think it's time.
I think we need to get going with it.
Okay.
Whatever they recommend, I think, as far as timeline when to start.
So I will contact them and share information as far as when that starts. I mentioned the updating contact demographic information on Synergy. I'm working with Diane Lane and CC to get something that we can send out where parents can look at what we have and updating the information. I'll keep that in that. Enrollment report is in your packet. We're up from 452, we're at 477, so we're up 25 kids.
Is that got anything to do with these post office boxes? Just seems too coincidental.
But big part of it is we have a really big kindergarten. We have 43 or 44 kids in kindergarten. That's a big chunk. So that's a good thing. That's good for our district. So we just have to keep it. There's information in your packet as well to designate a representative from the board for the North Star Electric District 3 election. And I believe that can be any representative that the board elects to send. The board member will fill out some action item. It can be a board member, it could be myself, or a designate. So we need to be thinking about that. So that action item, we can have a volunteer or someone that's willing to do that, or someone into.
You mean be willing to be the representative, or be willing to cast that ballot? Because I thought there were 2 candidates on there that I saw.
Yep.
So we're just going by a matter of proxy here, where we're getting, right, the school's vote or the board's vote?
Yep, that whoever casts the vote, I believe this, one person cast the vote, but it have to be the consensus of the board on who to cast that.
Okay. But how do we do that privately, or does that become a public effort? Do we have to online here all raise our hand for candidate A or B, and then your vote becomes a compromise?
Yeah.
Abstain.
I think we can just do a paper ballot and collect it, and then the person passes it.
Okay.
I think the big thing is that they just want the district to have one vote and not 6 or 7. Phyllis as a patron of North Star. And my last item is Homeland Security Emergency Management School Facility Assessment. Randy Johnson will be here on October 1 to do a facility assessment on security systems and crisis plan, and let's see what kind of feedback they give us. Any questions?
Nope, looks good. We will continue on with business office. Crystal?
I guess Jackie, our food service director, came to me last week about concerns with finding workers for the Bears Den on game nights and looking for some options as to what we could do possibly. She does have the fall season full with workers because she tries to ask different groups who want to volunteer, and then they get half the profit from that night. As of right now, she does not have winter filled. It's been typically the same group mostly that's been doing it this fall, so she's concerned with being able to fill those. So some of the options she was thinking of, obviously we could just close the Bears Den game nights, can't find workers. Otherwise, allowing some students to work in there and pay them a wage. We were thinking around $9 an hour because that's what our lifeguard students get currently. Or possibly have some of our food service sub workers come work in there too. So I think right now she's just kind of looking to see what the board thinks as far as what direction to go. Do we want to start allowing students to work in there? Clearly they can't deal with the food or anything, they can work at the tills. Or do we want to have a sub wage rate for having subs come in who are willing to come in and work? Or do we just close it during those times that she can't find workers? So as of right now, she just wanted me to present this to you guys so you kind of knew where we're at with it, what your guys' thoughts are. Do we want to try to get workers that we pay to stay in there so we don't have to close it? Do we want to just close it? I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Don't we typically send out an email or something asking for help, and we've done that?
Yep.
Okay.
And so she typically sends one out just to let her know. And then if there is a game that hasn't been filled, she'll send out another one saying, I'm still looking for volunteers for such and such date.
Okay.
Too bad, those are good fundraisers.
They are, because you split the profit. So, I mean, school district-wise, obviously we probably save a little more money just hiring a student to be in there or something, but it's nice to be able to give these groups opportunities to come in and work and earn some money. So, but if you can't find them, then what do you do?
Can I interject? Well, first of all, we need to keep it open. I mean, being a past AD, you've got students that come in here and playing sports, and we have one heck of a nice concession stand. And we're 2.5 miles out of town. They can't walk anywhere to get other food in the other place, so keep it open. Another option is just throwing this out there is, what about local businesses? What about, throwing it out at A&I, or throwing it out at CHI, or throwing it out, some of these different places want to have fundraisers and take their money and donate it to a certain cause. Maybe that's something that they might be interested in doing. Throwing it out there.
I thought there was something about that. It used to be open to organizations within the community, and that money was then like Relay for Life. We work concessions, but then it was decided that that was not legitimate.
I have to look into that.
Yeah, we could definitely look into it more.
That's
Maybe
it.
before we put it out there that
Run the numbers and go from there.
She's looking for winter. We got one in the fall. The fall is taken care of, but maybe she should send another one out saying she's winter, because sometimes our brains won't go so fast. And especially when we're planning things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I can definitely let her know to send out more.
Yes, my only concern about hiring it if we don't have groups is going backwards.
Yeah.
We're not more than what we're bringing in.
That's right, run the numbers.
We need to make sure that we, at the very worst, break even. And go backwards.
When they sign up, do they sign up by the season, or do they sign up for game? By the games? That would be interesting to find out exactly what happened between Relay for Life, you guys were in there and doing it, because, you know, there's, Rotary is another group that, you know, does a lot of different fundraisers and stuff, and they turn around and give the money back to the backpack program and different things, right? They're big at supporting education.
Yeah.
You know, but they're looking for fundraisers. There might be some other groups in town like that
Yeah, I can.
find out if
touch
it's
base with
legit or
Jackie
not, if the
if
person
she
can do
knows,
that.
or-
I should remember, yeah. Penny might know approximately the time that decision was made, because I remember working in the Bears Den, and then one year it was not an option anymore, and it was after there was some advice, so.
That would be a,
Well, I'll ask her, and I'll just tell her to keep sending out the emails to remind people to sign up.
on an average night, Brian, and, what would be, just an average night, what could a volunteer group?
I think on average, maybe, average game would be like $125, $150.
The last few were like 250 to 300.
Yeah, but
Depends on the sport.
each sport is different. When you have, for example, when you have 5 volleyball teams playing, and you're doing a Rosa or a War Road, you're gonna have a lot of money coming through that system, through the.
Sure.
Yeah, so it could be 250 to 275.
Okay.
On a good night.
On a good night.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've
You know,
had quite
that's-
a few good nights this fall.
And you get 15 below zero, and you're still playing the games, and you've got, you know, just 2 teams playing, or, I mean, 3 games maybe, you know, C, JV, varsity. Yeah, you're probably not gonna make as much, but.
Jackie, yeah, we usually do better in the fall.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, basketball, it's not as much.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I have for that. I was just kind of here for that. Next up, we just have the levy certification that will be up for approval in the board meeting. There's nothing too crazy about it. We are up about 85,000 for the levy that has increased, and that has a lot to do with the issue with the power line valuation. This was back in pay 2016 and pay 2017. So we would have certified it in 2015 and 2016. There was issues, they included that with our valuation, which they should not have. So in return, we ended up losing some revenue. So the state has now been working with our county auditors, and they came up with the number of 115,000 over the course of the 2 years of revenue that we had lost. So they're allowing us to levy for it now and get that revenue back. And I did include with the packet just page 32 of the levy certification report, because you guys probably don't really want to look at the whole thing, but you can if you want to go on the state website. But that gives you the breakdown of where the levy monies are coming from in each different categories. So we're looking at around 2 million for this year, for this. It'll be actually for next year's budget. But. So basically we have to certify it tonight, and then we'll have the final approval in December. And we like to certify it at the maximum allowable, so that allows for changes throughout until December. So, unless you guys have questions on any of it.
The certifying of the maximum allowable includes that 115 that they're trying to give back to us.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything else? Thank you. All right, moving on. Mr. Novak, the high school principal.
Well, I promised to the Board of Education that I'd have the updated class schedule and the numbers. The current class load looks really, really good. I think it was about 4 years ago with the updated contract that teachers, if they wanted to have a 6-hour class instead of having a supervisory, like a study hall, they could choose to have a class. And as of right now, I have very, very few teachers that are teach and study halls because they're choosing to teach classes instead. So that's where if you take a look at the schedule, the study hall, we've got 4 study halls that are located in the media center just because most teachers want to teach the classes. So I've got the numbers listed right underneath them. So any questions on those numbers or anything? Second part, I know we've got a time constraint here. Talking about student council activities, we've got homecoming, which will start next week. So Sunday, we've got our infamous, or more than famous, dodgeball tournament, which will start at 2 o'clock. And then Monday through Friday, we've got different activities going on. We are moving our coronation from Monday to Wednesday, just because we've always had Monday because we wanted to have the king and queen reign, and we changed that a few years ago. But what ends up happening is that you go from dodgeball on Sunday and then homecoming on Monday, and it just gets to be a rat race for the student council. So this way we can have actually the coronation on Wednesday during our activity period, and we'll be able to plan and get everything decorated and get everything set up for Wednesday. And on Thursday, the volleyball team plays Warroad for the homecoming game, and on Friday, the football team plays Big Fork for the homecoming game. Friday, also at halftime, hopefully we'll have decent weather. We're going to do a bonfire, and we'll do the check with DNR and make sure everything is kosher with that. But we're looking at doing a bonfire out at the football game at halftime. And then on Saturday, we're going to have our homecoming dance from 9 to midnight. So I'd like to invite Board of Education to come on out. We've got, once again, we have lots of different activities. They're going to be listed in the paper and on our website, plus for homecoming coronation on Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
All right. I know Mr. Hazelton has got some personal stepdad passed away. He will not be here to see him. No doubt send your condolences. Building and grounds, transportation, Reed?
All I have tonight is the purchase of a bus. I think in your packets you got some information on it. We had a transportation committee meeting here a few weeks ago. We went over the needs of the department, how many drivers we have, how many buses we have, overstaffed, and the needs for replacing vehicles in the fleet. And what I'd like to do tonight, if we can, is if you had a chance to go through it or whatever, get a motion to move forward with the purchase or lease, whichever is most economical. But go ahead with the motion to purchase it tonight, and then we can find out what the best option for work with the business committee here.
Got to say it all over again.
You're sure it's set it on for everyone else.
Just looking at it, in the past, we've always leased buses. We have been talking about purchasing this year. Interest rates in the past were pretty cheap. This year, they will be somewhere between 3.7% and 4% if we're to lease. So that will be a little bit different. It's up a little bit from before. The other thing we talked about was purchase of a gas bus versus a diesel bus. For a couple of reasons. Number one, the gas buses now are selling for about $10,000 less than the diesels. There's been a called war on diesel fuel for the last 15 years or so, and the emissions and stuff that have been put on the bus have run the cost up a lot. It's also created a lot of problems with cold weather because they keep having to reburn their exhaust and emissions. The diesel motor run cooler, and unless you're out there on the highway pushing a snow plow or pulling a load on a truck or whatever, it's hard to even get the inside of the buses really warm because you just don't get no heat out of the motor and they're designed to run cooler. So it'd be my recommendation that we would go ahead and go with gas and try one out. A lot of schools are doing that now. Overall cost of the bus, not only is it the $10,000 up front, the maintenance is quite a bit cheaper on a gas now than a diesel because of there's 11 different computer systems that are set up on them diesels just to take care of the emissions that we don't have. I think it's 7 on the gas. So there's just a lot more stuff to maintain on diesel. So it'd be my recommendation that we move forward with purchasing the vehicle. How we finance it will be different, but go with one gas to start out. Any questions on it?
We just authorized the purchase, like right now,
Total cost of the estimated,
and
the purchase, and then we'll come back with
the exact numbers.
exact numbers and the financing options.
I do have one sheet that I the total price is $85,165. Once we know we can move forward with it, I can tell them to order the bus, and then we can go out, and I'm going to get competitive bids with 3 different people on the option of leasing, and then we all know what cash out is, if that's the way the board decides they want to go. But we could move forward with it.
That's what we got.
That's state contract pricing.
All right.
Does our levy certification money apply to transportation?
Is that?
The stuff that we are going to certify at this meeting, the maximum levy?
Yeah, it's all for, transportation we mentioned, but I think one of the options we were thinking of if we were gonna purchase it outright was to use capital funds.
And that is an obligation. 3,000.
Was it under 305?
Well, there seems to be a coincidental number again between the amount of levy money that we're being asked to recoup from the last 2-3 payable years.
Yeah.
And the cost of the bus, and that was your recommendation, was if the money's available, and all of a sudden there is. Or there is hopefully going to be if we.
Which I don't think you knew that prior to this.
I didn't know that.
Can't tell you.
If you remember, we did some deficit spending.
Yeah.
So we could maintain and build our capital outlay, and that's kind of where we're at. So we can look at the financing, and that is an option. We have other capital expenses that we need to be thinking of now and down the
We
road
need to
too.
sit down, we're gonna sit down
So we have to plan, but we do have a fund balance in our capital outlay for vehicle purchases, bus purchases, possibly some lighting options, and a number of other things to that.
Okay.
So it'll go quickly if we do that.
Well, talking about going quickly, she said it, and 14 seconds later, he spent it.
Yep.
I just redid the playground and put in the lighting and.
Yeah.
But yeah, how that extra money comes in, the state gave us a breakdown of what areas,
We can use that in.
what it's going to, and part of it is transportation, there's some going there. I mean, the whole E5 isn't going in that area, but.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, Reed?
That's all I have.
Very good. Moving to the last agenda item will be the community ed and food service. We have Mr. Cole.
Well, fall registrations, a pretty good turnout for students this fall. We had 32 in flag football, 11 for cross country, 36 for volleyball, 12 piano, and then for some adult classes we had 4 in attic windows quilting, 14 in HIT, 2 in yoga, 3 in pound, and I have 12 weight room memberships in September. And that's just what's come through me so far this month. Like yoga, there might be a few where the instructor has registrations and she'll give them to me when she can. We had an error on our volleyball registration for our 5th and 6th grade. The registration said $60. It should have been $30. So I didn't cash it. I cashed one check before we caught it, but the ones after we caught it, I gave them a phone call, and then we mailed the checks home, and they just told them, just send us another check. And everyone was pretty calm about it, so no big deal there. At the end of October, there's some guys at a Bemidji, an outfit, they want to put on a diet class, and that comes for the kind of the facility request. We don't have a price to ask for the, like, to rent out the pool for a day, and I guess these people have came up before. But just looking at what we had before, you know, the commons, the gym, it's kind of been $100 a day. I figured that would be fair for, say, the pool's $100 a day plus the lifeguard cost that we would have to provide. They said that generally they don't have school guards, but being it's our policy, I think we would want to do that. And lastly, the facility use request form. This is the old one. My issue with this is they fill it out and they give it back to me with the information filled on it. Well, all our rules are on the form that they just handed back. Okay, so I typed out a new one, and it's got all their information on one page. The stuff they're going to fill out, they tear this off, give it to me, then they get to keep this. I took some stuff off this. The stuff I highlighted, a lot of it was crossed out on here, or it's just kind of redundant. We already said it once. Don't need to tell them again. If you guys want a copy of this, you pass those around.
Sure.
I printed a few of them for you to look at, but it's really no difference. I think I have to get approval for that. If we're going to change that, I'm not sure.
Add it to the list.
But then I wouldn't.
Administration could just approve it too. Or we want to do what, like, who's going to do it? It's kind of a practical way.
Probably works better than you have time to read through it totally and everything. I think so too.
Okay.
Then we can't complain.
Are there any?
Are you going to add a fee schedule for the pool on here?
What's that?
You're going to add a fee schedule for the pool on here, do you think?
Yeah, I would probably put.
And then, you know, just as long as we're changing it,
I have it on this
maybe.
one. Yeah, you got the one I had.
Oh,
See on this
oh,
one.
yeah, okay.
That was the one that I had printed off last
Yeah,
week.
okay.
But yeah, I had put the
Okay.
pool on there.
Well, I wouldn't have noticed it if you hadn't mentioned it, so.
Are there any other questions?
If I could add something, I've filled these out before for things. Is there some extra room for like kind of miscellaneous, like maybe X amount of tables or at certain times, like is there a little bit of space for
Yep.
kind of that miscellaneous information that might be?
There's a line that says room setup or equipment requests, but on the back I left blank because what I did for like the spelling bee, I've actually drawn out the auditorium and how I want the table set up for the janitors.
Okay.
You know, and that's why I wanted this on here as well. So if you want to add more writing or draw a picture, you got some space. So that's it. So no more
Very good. Thanks, Brian. Okay. Any other questions, or not? We are going to conclude the working session at 7:25, and let's just take a little break, and in that break, if you want to vote for the representative or the person that we want to represent, and give those to Tim on a piece of paper or one of those two people, so then that'll flow better if we, when we make the motion in second.
Well, who are the candidates?
You got.
For those of us who aren't already
Hang on.
members.
We get in there.
I don't have anything. Or is it,
It's in the board packet. It's in there.
It's in the packet, okay.
Just give Tim a piece of paper, or just give it, put it over here, whoever you want.
And just write A or B on it. I'm trying to get it up here.
It's A, or are you gonna send it in, or what do you mean? B. Or you're on your,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Turn off the mics, or do we still have to have them on?
No, you got this green, am I the only one that got one of these here?
You've got Randy Bergen as A and Alan Thomas as B.
Nobody gets you the equipment, I can't.
Oh, really? No. Yeah. I,
it was the
Feedback.
fifth and sixth grade. Because they put the basket, so remember chili day, because you put your 18 on the dishwasher on chili day because there were so many more dishes. Kind of amusing, now well, high school kids, they might learn themselves. Well, you did learn yourself.
Let's call to order the September 24th meeting, starting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And moving on, first item of business is the approval of the agenda. I need a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Boyd, second by Ryan. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion is passed unanimously. I need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ellis,
I'll second.
second by Trash. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion is passed unanimously. We have no board presenters, I believe. We talked about, there's a written communication about the MREA Fall Conference this year. You should have a copy of that. Take a look at that if anybody's interested. How do they go about that, Jeff? Do you know? They just
Send me an email and I'll take care of the registration.
was it at Craigham's this year?
Yes, I believe so.
Very cool spot.
November 11th through the 13th for Craigham's.
Deer season.
Okay. Moving along over to old business, I need a motion and a second to approve the third reading of policy 503, the student attendance. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second by Johnson. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion is passed unanimously. New business. I need a motion and a second to approve the athletic facilities lease agreement as presented. I need a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Johnson. Second.
Second.
Second by Lyon. Any further discussion?
It's just a one-year lease.
Same amount of money.
Same amount.
Yep.
Okay. Good. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion is passed unanimously. I need a motion and a second to approve the resolution for the 2018-2019-02, certifying the maximum for the proposal tax levy for 2018 payable 2019.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Ellis.
Second.
Second by Ryan. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion is passed unanimously. I need a motion and a second to approve the new bus purchase for fiscal year 19 as presented.
I'll make a
Discuss that. Go ahead.
I think go with gas. Make the motion.
Motion by Johnson, thank you. Second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
We're approving the purchase, but we don't have a number there. So,
Correct.
I mean, this has to be revisited.
We have a number. It's 85,000. We have a number, 85,165, but not whether we're going to
Lease or buy.
or buy outright.
So we're approving his use of $85,000 roughly of school
Right.
money right now.
But not determining whether it's gonna be a lease or an outright purchase yet.
And
Or a gas or a diesel, he didn't make that commitment, we wanted gas, like you said.
Well,
It makes sense.
he wants gas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was for a gas bus. That price tag.
Mhm.
And if we go with the leasing option, I'm sure that's gonna increase some finance costs.
I just wonder how the 85,000 works if you're leasing, because you don't need all that money right up front, do you? I mean, it's a lease deal.
We figured out.
Right, but you still, that's the purchase price of the bus, and then anything above that is lease cost.
Okay, but you wouldn't have to plunk that down if you're leasing it, would you?
No, but you still, but that's the cost of the bus.
Okay. Whether it's over
I mean,
a
that's,
5-year
that's,
increment or a
right,
lump sum right
right.
now, let's take.
And then if it's over the 5-year increment, then
Fair
the
enough.
interest and fees
there's a
would
fee.
apply.
Will we have to address that as a motion next month, or will it?
The
Have to
board
approve the lease
will
or the
lease
money.
Or the
Okay.
final purchase
Got it.
payment of, whether it's one day.
This, I believe, allows him to get the bus ordered, right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions, discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion is passed unanimously. I need a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2018-03, identifying Jeff Nelson, Superintendent, as identified official with authority for Lake of the Woods School District. I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Second by Ellis. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion is passed unanimously. I need a motion and a second to designate Randy Bergman as voting representative to Bergen. I'm sorry.
We're designating a board
No.
member
Board member to vote.
as a voting representative.
Okay.
So you could put in Tim Lyon if you wanted to.
Fair enough. Well, put my name down as vice chair, it sounds like.
I would like that. There we go. I make a motion and a second to designate Tim Lyon as voting representative to represent the district at the North Star Cooperative's 2018 annual meeting.
I'll make
the
that motion.
Second. And any further discussion?
I just go out there and vote it on my own time now? Is that how that works?
We have
Or you have a
form.
certified?
Form's right there, the green form.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Get that
Do you
filled
need a
out,
picture of this? No, we're okay.
and it's the board chair and the clerk, I believe.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Meeting, go ahead. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Already marked that.
All opposed, same sign.
So you wouldn't make a mistake.
But it's the wrong guy who's marked. Oh,
You didn't know there was all that responsibility there, did you?
We're being led.
I can't remember if we had a vote or not. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is passed unanimously. Congratulations, Tim.
Thank you.
I need, the last item, I need a motion and a second to approve the first reading of policy 509, enrollment of non-resident students.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Corinne, second by, I'll do it, by Johnson. Further discussion? No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion is passed unanimously. Any other business? I do. Any other? None recognized. Meeting is adjourned at 7:41. Thank you.